For words appeared on my phone screen that made my hands go numb. Don't come to the wedding. I was holding the invoice for the final floral arrangement, part of the $100,000 I'd poured into my sister's dream ceremony. The Grand Terrace Ballroom in downtown Chicago. The live jazz quartet. The custom Vera Wang alterations. Every perfect detail she'd whispered about since we were kids sharing a bedroom in our cramped Milwaukee apartment. But that text wasn't what destroyed me. What came after, my mother's explanation, the wedding planner's calculated silence, and the legal detail buried in every contract I'd signed, that's what changed everything. And when I used it, none of them saw it coming. My name is Nora Bennett, and I've spent 32 years being the reliable one. Not because anyone asked if I wanted the role, but because someone had to keep things running while everyone else fell apart. Growing up in Milwaukee, I learned that in our family, there were two categories of people, those who needed things, and those who provided them. I was firmly in the second category by the time I was 8 years old. My mother, Diane, called me her steady girl, the daughter who didn't require management. My younger sister, Claire, was different, sensitive, artistic, emotionally fragile. That's the word they used. Fragile. Like she was made of spun sugar and I was made of something industrial and unbreakable. While Claire got driven to pottery classes she'd abandon after 3 sessions, I was walking myself to school, forging permission slips when Mom forgot, teaching myself to make grilled cheese for dinner because everyone was too busy managing Claire's latest crisis. Dad, Tom, loved us equally, I think. But he'd learned long ago that the path of least resistance was silence. When Mom made a decision, he nodded and retreated to his workshop in the garage. His way of saying I'm staying out of it was to literally stay out of it. By the time I finished my business degree at Northwestern and landed a solid job at a healthcare consulting firm in Chicago, the pattern was set in stone. Claire didn't just expect help, she lived in a reality where help materialized automatically, like oxygen. And I lived in the parallel universe where asking for anything felt like an imposition. So when she got engaged to Derek, charming, well-connected, successful on paper Derek, I wasn't surprised when Mom called me that same night. She didn't ask about my promotion or the project I'd been leading. She launched straight into it. Nora, Claire's dream wedding is finally happening. She wants something magical. You're so good at organizing things. That was the beginning. 6 months of vendor calls, deposit transfers, design consultations, spreadsheet after spreadsheet. I paid for the dress fitting where Claire cried happy tears. The ballroom she'd circled in bridal magazines since high school. The imported peonies she'd always imagined carrying. Every invoice crossed my desk in my Lincoln Park apartment, and I paid each one believing I was finally earning a place in my sister's happiness. But then something shifted. So subtly I almost missed it. Almost. It started small, the kind of small that makes you question whether you're being paranoid. The wedding planner, a woman named Vivian who'd come highly recommended, stopped CCing me on emails. The florist started asking Claire for final approvals even though my credit card was on file. The jazz quartet's manager emailed her directly instead of me. I told myself it was natural. People get busy. Wires get crossed. Brides want to feel involved. But then I met Genevieve, Derek's mother. We had one video call about the rehearsal dinner plans. She smiled, perfectly polite, but her eyes stayed sharp, analytical. Like she was trying to figure out what I was doing there. At one point she said, "We want the ceremony to feel serene, you know? Uncomplicated. No unnecessary stress." She emphasized serene in a way that felt pointed. I didn't understand it then. Later, it became crystal clear. About a week after that call, I noticed the shared planning folder had gone stagnant. Documents were there, but no updates. Decisions were being made somewhere I couldn't see. I sent Vivian 2 emails, professional, brief, just checking in. Her response was vague, "We'll make sure Claire stays closely involved." Closely involved. As if my sister had suddenly become the project manager of a wedding I was funding. Then the questions stopped coming entirely. Claire started acting strange too. Short responses. Days between texts. No more voice memos about napkin colors or cake flavors. One Thursday afternoon, I called to offer help with the seating chart, something she'd literally begged me to manage 2 weeks earlier. She sighed and said, "Let me get back to you on that," then hung up before I could respond. For someone who used to call me sobbing because her favorite coffee shop ran out of oat milk, this felt like whiplash. But I pushed it down. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe I was reading too much into things. The real shift came 6 days before the wedding. I was at my kitchen table, reviewing the final payment schedule, when Claire's name appeared on my screen. I smiled, expecting gratitude or a last-minute request. Instead, I got 4 words that felt like a punch: "Don't come to the wedding." I read it 3 times, waiting for context, an explanation, a follow-up saying her phone had been hacked. Nothing. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. I texted, "What's going on?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared. Vanished. 23 minutes of silence. Then Mom called. "Nora," she said in that soft voice she used when she needed something from me. "Don't take this personally. Genevieve thinks there might be tension. You know how you can be sometimes, a little intense. Claire just wants everything to flow smoothly." Heat crept up my neck. "I paid for everything," I said quietly. "You're the strong one," Mom replied. "You understand, don't you?" There it was. That sentence. The excuse that had justified every unfair thing they'd ever done to me. I hung up before she finished talking. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with only my laptop screen glowing and the distant sound of a Chicago L train rattling past. The wedding contracts were open in front of me: payments, invoices, vendor agreements, timelines. I'd seen them 100 times, but never like this. Never with the understanding that I'd been erased from an event I'd built with my own money. My hands stayed steady. Too steady. I opened the venue contract first, the one for the Grand Terrace Ballroom. I scanned past the descriptions and payment schedules to the signature section. And there it was, simple and undeniable: primary signatory, Nora Bennett. Cancellation authority reserved exclusively for signatory. I leaned back in my chair. A cold calm settled over me, thicker than anger, heavier than heartbreak. This wasn't rage. This was recognition. Recognition of power I'd forgotten I held. My phone buzzed. Mom again. I let it ring. I opened the catering contract next. Signatory, Nora Bennett. The florist contract. Nora Bennett. The band agreement. The transportation company. The photographer. The custom lighting design. Every single document, every dream Claire had whispered about, every detail she'd planned to walk through in her white dress. The only person with legal authority wasn't her. It was me. My pulse quickened, not from fear, but from something closer to awakening. At 12:51 a.m., I opened a new email. "Hello, Catherine," I typed to the venue coordinator. "As the primary signatory on this contract, I'm formally requesting immediate cancellation, effective as of this email. Please proceed according to the terms outlined in Section 7. I paused. Breathed. Hit send. One email. Then another. Then another. To every vendor, every coordinator, every professional who'd ever called me such a responsible sister. The replies came faster than I expected. Received and understood. We'll process this according to contract policy. Cancellation confirmed, Ms. Bennett. No questions. No pushback. Because I wasn't asking permission. I was exercising authority they'd always assumed I'd never use. Around 2:15 a.m., I called the catering company. The manager, a man named Leonard who'd spent weeks perfecting Claire's menu, answered groggily. "Nora? Everything okay?" "I'm cancelling," I said simply. "I'm the signatory. Please proceed under contract terms." He exhaled slowly. "Understood. We'll take care of it." The florist was next. Then the band. Then the photographer. Every call was the same: calm voices, quiet acknowledgements, professionals who'd seen this kind of implosion before. By 3:40 a.m., my inbox was full of confirmations. The wedding was collapsing, piece by piece. Silently. Efficiently. Exactly the way it had been built. At dawn, I closed my laptop. The sky was turning that particular shade of gray-blue you only see after staying up all night. I stood, stretched, and made fresh coffee. For the first time in years, my chest didn't feel tight. They'd told me not to come. Fine. I wasn't coming. I was taking the wedding with me. The morning after I cancelled everything, my phone looked like it was on fire. Missed calls stacked up, 17, 23, 31. Voicemails flooded in behind them. I didn't listen to a single one. Instead, I made breakfast the way I always did: scrambled eggs, whole wheat toast, black coffee. The kind of quiet routine that steadied me more than any apology they could manufacture. Around noon, the first real domino fell. A message from Catherine, the venue coordinator. Claire and family arrived requesting to restore the booking. We informed them that only the signatory can authorize changes. They're quite upset. I could picture it perfectly: Mom's smile freezing, Claire's eyes going wide, Genevieve stepping forward like she could negotiate her way around policy. Another message followed within minutes: they're insisting there's been a mistake. We're following procedure as outlined. They've asked for your contact information. We did not provide it. I set my phone face down on the counter. By 3 p.m., the texts shifted from confusion to anger. Nora, call me right now. Why would you sabotage your own sister's wedding? This is beyond cruel. You're acting completely unhinged. Unhinged. The word people use when they don't want to face what they've done. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and created a folder labeled Records. Every email, every receipt, every payment confirmation, every cancellation notice. Evidence, not emotion. At 8:47 p.m., my doorbell rang. No one visited me unannounced. Ever. I checked the peephole. Claire stood there, looking nothing like the polished version of herself she presented to the world. Her hair was messy. Mascara smudged under her eyes. Her cardigan pulled tight around her like armor. She wasn't crying yet, but the tears were right there, pooling at the edges. Nora, she said when I opened the door. Please, let me in. She sat on the very edge of my couch, hunched forward, phone clutched in both hands like it was the only thing keeping her tethered to reality. Why did you do this? She asked, voice breaking. I kept my tone even. You told me not to come. She shook her head. I didn't mean it like that. Texts are literal, I said. She looked down. I was stressed. Genevieve said it might be calmer if you weren't there. She thinks you're a lot. I couldn't help the small laugh that escaped. A lot. Genevieve hasn't seen a lot. Claire twisted her fingers together. I didn't think you'd react like this. How did you think I'd react? I asked. After paying for everything? She had no answer. Finally, she murmured, Mom said you wouldn't mind. You're strong. You always understand. That sentence again. The one they'd weaponized my entire life. I stood up. I cancelled because I was the signatory. Because you removed me. Because you wanted my money without wanting me. Her chin trembled. We need the wedding back. The venue said it can't go forward without your authorization. They made us wait in the lobby like we were nobody. You were nobody, I said quietly, to that contract. She blinked hard, tears finally spilling. Nora, please. Just sign the papers again. Put everything back. Derek's family is furious. His mother is threatening to pull out entirely. You wanted me gone, I said. Now you want me back because you need what I provided, not who I am. The doorbell rang again, 3 sharp, angry presses. Claire flinched. I opened the door. Mom pushed inside before I could say a word, her face tight with fury barely controlled. Behind her was Genevieve, still perfectly composed except for the rigid way she held herself, like someone scrambling to maintain control of a situation spiraling away. Nora Elizabeth Bennett, Mom started, voice shaking. What is the meaning of this? The meaning of what? I folded my arms. Canceling the wedding, she snapped. You're humiliating this family. You erased me first, I said. Mom waved her hand dismissively. We did what we had to do to keep things peaceful. You broke the peace, I replied. You removed me from a wedding I paid for. Genevieve stepped forward, voice clipped and cold. We needed a harmonious environment. You complicate things. I stared at her. This is me calm. Completely calm. She faltered, just for a second, but recovered. Your behavior proves our concern was justified. My behavior? I repeated slowly. I sent professional cancellation notices. Meanwhile, you've been telling people I'm having a breakdown. Genevieve looked away. Mom didn't. Mom crossed her arms. Fix this, Nora. Right now. No, I said simply. Claire's voice cracked from the couch. Please. The venue said you're the only one who can reinstate everything. They said we'd have to ask you. Her voice broke on the word ask. She wasn't used to asking me for anything besides money. Then ask, I said quietly. Ask properly. She swallowed hard. Nora, please sign the contracts. Please give us back the wedding. No. Her knees buckled. She sank back into the couch. Mom gasped softly. Genevieve went rigid. Why? Claire whispered. Why are you doing this to me? I'm not doing anything to you, I said. I'm doing something for myself. For the first time. Silence filled the room like water. Then I delivered the line I'd rehearsed only in my mind. You removed me from your wedding. So I removed your wedding from my name. Mom's breath caught. Genevieve went pale. Claire covered her mouth, eyes wide and shattered. No more calls, I added. No more texts. No more using my strength as your excuse to treat me like I don't matter. Mom reached for me, but I stepped back. Please leave. They stared at me, waiting for the familiar softening, the surrender they'd counted on my entire life. It didn't come. Eventually, they filed out stunned, scrambling to figure out how to explain this to their guests, to Derek's family, to everyone who'd been expecting a wedding in 5 days. When the door clicked shut, I exhaled. Not in triumph. Just release. A life finally returned to its rightful owner. In the days that followed, chaos swirled around the cancelled wedding, but my own world grew strangely quiet. My Lincoln Park apartment felt different, lighter somehow, as if removing myself from their expectations had opened windows I didn't know were sealed shut. Vendors continued sending confirmations. Refunds processing. Accounts closed. Every email affirmed one thing: I had acted within my rights. No drama. No breakdown. Just a woman reclaiming what she'd given away too easily. Mom tried calling for a week straight. I didn't answer. Each voicemail sounded less angry and more confused, like she genuinely couldn't understand how the daughter who never pushed back had suddenly learned how. Where noise used to be, I found space. I started therapy again, returning to Dr. Carson's office with its warm lighting and comfortable chairs. For the first time, I didn't talk about Claire or my mother. I talked about myself. What I wanted. What I no longer needed to prove. I also joined a women's professional group that met Wednesday evenings. Women who spoke directly, asked for what they needed, and didn't punish each other for having boundaries. I learned to say no without apologizing. I learned to ask for things without shrinking. And for the first time in my life, I started choosing myself, not out of anger, but out of clarity. A month later, on a quiet Sunday morning, I walked along the Chicago Riverwalk with black coffee in hand and realized something simple but profound: my life finally felt like mine. Not borrowed. Not demanded. Not shaped around someone else's crisis. Mine. Claire eventually sent a letter, not asking for money, not asking for the wedding back. Just acknowledging what she'd broken and what she couldn't undo. I didn't rush to forgive her. Some things need time, space, and honesty before they can be rebuilt. But for once, the choice was mine to make. Not an obligation pressed into my hands. And that's the point, isn't it? Boundaries aren't punishments. They're doors you close so peace has somewhere to stay.